Hello students and friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. This module is about crime prevention model from around the world. Learning outcomes of this lesson is to make the learners understand the basic concepts in crime prevention, to enrich the learners with aims, objectives and key indicators used in crime prevention models, to acquaint the learners with models of crime prevention used across the world. To start with, crime is a dynamic process. This module is intended to explain the crime prevention model from around the world. These models are basically developed for creating a safe and secured environment. Every crime prevention model is employed to protect the safe stakeholders and provide them with secure and safe zone for access. These models are successfully implemented, tested and appreciated. All the models should have undergone several changes, alterations before and after implantation. Crime is a dynamic process concept. Most of the crimes occur because the criminal found the right opportunity to act. The criminal's preference and the victim's asset came in together at a time and place where the criminal felt that they could successfully commit the crime with minimal risk of interferences, apprehension. The only way out of crime remains with opportunity reduction through effective crime prevention strategies. Crime prevention technique can be broken down into people, place and situation oriented strategies. The people-oriented model is usually known as crime prevention through social development. Place-oriented strategy are known as crime prevention through environment designing. When both combined with situation crime prevention approach, then it becomes a holistic model and effective crime prevention package. To appreciate the need, importance and working of the crime prevention model, one needs to understand the basic concept in crime prevention. Perhaps this session is going to be of 3 sessions. We are going to start with the basic concepts of crime prevention. Zones, very important in crime prevention. Public zones. These areas are in general open to anyone and is least secure of 3 zones. This is particularly true when the zone is located within a building or in an area with a controlled access and little or no opportunity for close surveillance. This zone includes office space, park, building grounds, roads, streets, public lots and lobby areas. Then others, second is semi-public or private zones. This serves as a common use space. For instance, entrance, exit, office wait areas, meeting rooms and similar areas are example for semi-private zones. These areas are accessible to the public but are set off from the public zone. The separation is accomplished with design features that establish definite transaction boundaries between these zones. Third is the private zone. This area is restricted to entry by anybody who is authorized, access in control and limited to specific individual or group. Space or office space areas are example of the private zones. These zones are clearly defined, owned by private parties. A person with no link enter the space becomes a trespass. Then second concept is defensible space, a space with maximum control. It is first divided into smaller, clear, defined areas or zone. These spaces are then specified technically by terms given identified defensible space that is used to describe an area that has been made a zone of protection by the design characteristics that create it. The concept of defensible space are introduced way back in 1980s. Under the defensible space guidelines, all areas are designated as either public, semi-private or private zone. The designation defines acceptable of each zones and determine who has the right to occupy it. The third concept is surveillance. Surveillance is the principal weapon in the protection of defensible space. Criminals are least likely to act when there is a substantial risk of their action being witnessed or recorded. Environment in which legitimate occupants can exercise a high degree of visual control have the greatest likelihood of criminal activity being observed and reported. In this concept, cyberspace is more likely to be included in later. The 2 major forms of surveillance are given as informal and formal surveillance or natural surveillance. The informal surveillance or natural surveillance occurs as a direct result of architectural design that minimizes visual obstacles and eliminate place of concealment for potential assailants offer the most protection against crime. These open designs also encourage use of the environment people feel safer when they can easily see and be seen. Use of defensible space in conjunction with natural surveillance is a potential crime prevention tool. Formal surveillance method such as closed circuit television, electronic monitoring, fixed guard posts and organized security patrols are normally used when natural surveillance alone cannot sufficiently protect an area. Public, semi-private and private zones that are concealed from view of that experience regularly period of isolation or inactive may benefit from some type of formal surveillance. Territoriality is the fourth one. Territoriality involves an individual perception of and relationship with environment. In general, the citizen should own their space, if not physically, at least mentally. A strong sense of territoriality encourages an individual to take control of his or her own environment and defend it against attack. When in private space, they can be achieved with no effort. A sense of territoriality is fostered in architecture and allow easy identification of certain areas as the exclusive domain of a particular individual or group. In public space, this feeling is enhanced when the area involved is one of the individual can relate to with a sense of pride and ownership. Every citizen will defend their environment, not simple but want to defend. Individual who feels a sense of ownership is an area will be more aware of activities taking place in around the place. Unreported lightning is fifth concept. Most of the crime happens in dark, especially the felonies. Good lighting is one of the most important effective crime deterrents when used properly. Light discourages criminals' activity during nights, enhances natural surveillance opportunity and reduces fear in legitimate user. The type of quality, quantity and visibility with the light should meet with the minimum standard during the dark. It would be better if you could avoid bright spots and shadow. Potential areas should be illuminated more brightly than areas designed for normal activity. The object is to light up the criminal without spotlight the victim. Ability to feel good about one's environment is an important in developing a sense of pride and ownership. Landscaping is the sixth concept. Landscaping design, like architectural design, play a significant role in crime prevention. Landscaping can be used to perform a variety of functions as a symbolic barrier. Landscaping can mark the transition between zones, the proper maintenance and features such as decorative fencing, flower beds, ground covers and varied patterns in cement work can slow separation between the zones. If more substantial barriers are needed, shrubberies such as evergreen hedges, cactus arrangements or thorny bushes can create more formidable obstacles. Growth characteristics of plant and their placement in relation to potential vulnerable areas are also an important concept. Another functions of landscaping in crime prevention is aesthetic and attractive environment generate a sense of pride and ownership. Physical security is the seventh concept. The problem with the physical security of many buildings lies with the fact that designers often do not understand crime and criminals. Enlightened physical security planning contributes considerably to overall security of the property. Days are gone the presence of individual made a deterrence. The proper application of security hardware and elimination of security weakness from a structural standpoint can have a significant impact of future crime problems. As an element of CEPD, physical security planning is not intended to create an impenetrable fortress. The goal is merely to make penetration more difficult and then difficult length of delay key factor in reducing the probability that crime will occur. CPED elements should be familiar to every user. Hardware, lighting and surveillance are all the standard crime prevention tools. The emphasis of CPED is not just on the tools, however, it makes the difference. The concentration of the crime prevention model uses certain fundamental factors that listed below for such successful development of the model. However, it is mandatory to notice the application of the following indicator in their respective models. Background of the theory. Very important thing in this theory development is 3 Ds of crime prevention. These are most too common of the models of crime prevention developed across the world. It may be international or national. While factors may vary according to the models, still all the models have consideration for 3 Ds. They are as follows. 1. Deter. The goal of deterrence is creation of an environment that is unattractive to criminals. Anything that increases the likelihood that a criminal action will be observed and reported to the police or security personnel remains a deterrent. In general, open, well lit, well used areas are less susceptible to crime. The visible presence of security measures and use of access control devices are barrier or deterrent to potential criminals. A successful deterrent agenda makes the criminal hesitant to commit crime in that environment even when the facility itself is targeted, such as with anti-government terrorist attack, as a well designed deterrence program may prevent an attack. Even effective deterrent place psychological and physical barrier in criminal path and imply to them they have no easy access to no opportunity to successfully commit crime. The second is delay. In spite of our best efforts to control crime, some criminals may not be put off by security measures and other deterrent efforts. In this instance, our next line of defense is to delay completion of the criminal attack. The longer it takes a criminal to complete a criminal act, greater the probability that they will be observed and apprehended. Barriers such as solid doors, good locks, fencing and other physical security measures are devices that delay a criminal on delaying measures, increasing both the difficult and risk associated with the criminal activities. Instead, delay usually equates to a decreased opportunity in the criminal mind. Third concept is detect. Even with the best security program, there is always a chance that criminal activity will occur. Total security does not exist. When a criminal does occur early, crime does occur early, detection greatly increases the odds that criminal will be apprehended. Early detection can be accomplished by a variety of means during the business hours. The best detection devices are alerting people always hours and in private, after hours in private or public space not normally occupied. Various electronic devices can be employed to detect criminal activity. These devices include access control, alarm systems and closed circuit cameras. These presence of people and electronic alerts, security devices sends a message to the potential criminal that action will be detected. This increased risk of apprehension reduces their level of comfort. As a result of opportunity is diminished or reduced. The major contributions of the crime prevention model that are accepted, acknowledged and appreciated for practical practice in real time societies is given below. The most used crime prevention model in the world are: 1. Crime prevention through social model. Crime prevention is a social problem, hence answer for which will be available only in society. On the other hand, crime is developmental issue until there is no single research which could certainly give the reason for crime. But there are researchers that have witnessed and demonstrate that certain conditions and experience may influence whether a person turns to crime. For example, poor prenatal care or health care and alcohol abuse by the mother can lead to low birth weight, unattended delinquent, fetal alcoholic syndrome, overcrowded house, poor schooling and conditions that can affect a child physical and mental growth. Child rearing is a tedious task that could influence the children in family and society. If children have cognitive problems and have lacked warm, nurturing care in their early years by the parents, they are more susceptible to risky behavior, including criminal activity. This model is basically a merger of two basic models, namely social crime prevention model and developmental crime model. Both are autonomous and interrelated by variables. Hence, this approach of social crime prevention was developed by a merger of models by the researchers and named it as crime prevention through social development. Model 1, so crime prevention through social model involves a long-term integrated action that deals with the root causes of crime. This model concentrates on individual behavior and ways to control it. The aim is to reduce the factor start people, particularly children and youth, on the road to crime and to build protective factors that mitigate those risks. This model gives optimum weightage to parenting and child rearing. The risk factor associated with the criminal involvement are also related to many other social problems such as child abuse, alcohol misuse, school failure, illegal teenage pregnancy, unemployment, and so when people and other organizations prevent crime, they are also working to make communities healthy, safe and sustainable in many ways. CPSD program is available at 3 levels. At primary level, crime prevention refers to universal population based such as public education and healthcare. At secondary level, crime prevention refers to programs that targets those higher risk for criminal activity. These levels would include programs at risk, youth at risk at school leaving and parent programs at higher risk parents. At tertiary level, crime prevention refers to rehabilitative and supervisory programs for offenders to reduce re-offending. This model can be successful with cooperation of the parents, education, participating volunteer officials of public administration and involving local community during the implementation of the model. Absence of any will result. Implementation of the model shall be failure of this model. CPST works at making people healthy, responsible and resilient. In a free society, there will always be opportunities and temptation to do wrong, to take advantage of another person or a situation or our own benefit. For young people to resist peer pressure and make good decision. Crime prevention through environment and designing, which we call shortly as CPTED. CPTED is a multidisciplinary approach to deterring criminal behavior through environment design. CPTED strategically relies upon the ability to influence offender decision that precede criminal acts. There are several theories that explain weak environment design as major cause of crime. In order to prove the claim of theories and poor environment designing gives higher chances for crime happening, was developed as crime prevention through environment designing as a model complementary to and integrated with CPST model. Both our models are built on platform that people in the built environment which can influence people behave, how people behave. CPTED is about place, things and the built environment which can either be target of the criminal activity or the location where crime takes place. The application of this model is possible only with the building approving authority, that is town planning department and citizens. The properly designed, effectively used and well maintained built environment can lead to a reduction in incidents and fear of crime and an improvement in quality of life. CPTED is based on the premise that much crime is opportunistic and contextual. Unintentional nuisance and criminal behavior can be facilitated by poor planned design space, leading to increased opportunity for crime as well as enhanced levels of fear. Through the effective use of CPTED principles, nuisance behavior and fear of crime can be reduced. Application of CPTED principle to new development prevents future problems, and using CPTED enhances problem solving capacity for existing development. There are 4 key CPTED design principles. Natural access control designs that directs and influences the flow of people to naturally maximize control and surveillance. Exterior and interior design of a building, landscaping, lighting and traffic calming. Natural surveillance designs to maximize visibility and ensures legitimate user can be observed and monitor activities around them in formal or casual manner. Apartment windows with unimpeded slightness to parking area or other areas where crime is likely to occur. Territoriality designing of physical environment to extend to perceived sense of influence or territory. People taking ownership of their surrounding, especially public space, making it offender to carry out crimes or disorder. Very less. Maintenance enhancement. Maintenance and management of the built environment encourages the user of the area to respect the surroundings, removing graffiti and litter, avoiding growth of hedges, fixing inoperative lighting and installing good locks. Creating a secured environment, a CPTED concept. Generally when we think of security, we think in terms of hardware items such as locks and an alarm system. It is true that hardware is an integral part of any security system. Unfortunately, hardware can be expensive. It also can create a false sense of security when relied upon as a whole means of protection. More you spend on hardware, it challenges the offender, and understanding applying basic crime deterrence concept supplemented by strategically applied security hardware. We can create an inherently crime resistant physical environment at minimal cost, not only in environment safer. In most cases, it is also a more pleasant place to work in sight. The idea of using the physical environment as protection against attack dates back to prehistory times. However, it was not until recently that problem of creating a defensive environment was approached from both the physical and the psychological aspect at the same time. The goal of crime prevention through environment design is reduction of criminal opportunity. This is achieved by physical designs feature that discourage crime while encouraging legitimate use of protected areas. SEPTED makes it possible to design secured space that offers protection for the user. Use of fortress type construction is minimized and where necessary integrated into an overall design, thereby reducing negative visual impact as much as possible. To understand fully how SEPTED is used, it is necessary to examine the components and the philosophy behind them. Although crime prevention by design is itself relatively new, it is individual elements are common security techniques. The uniqueness and successful of SEPTED system stems from the manner in which these techniques are integrated with and applied to the overall facility design. Then the third is situational crime prevention. Good number of criminological theories have explained crimes, criminal behavior and influence of social, economic and psychological factors, contribution to breaking of law. While there is no theory that could address in detail how a responsible citizen turn towards criminality. In order to reduce crime in a given situation, a theory was developed by researchers and named it as situational crime prevention. The situational crime prevention looks at particular circumstances in which people interact with one another and with the built environment, identifies particular risky combinations and looks for solution specific to those vulnerable situations. Solutions may include increasing the effort required to commit a crime, making it less attractive and inaccessible, increasing the risk of being caught, set a trap, reducing the potential rewards of crime, make the attempt of less worth, reducing provocation and temptation, portray more secure, removing excuses for committing crime, make it unfair. In most of the cases, some of these solutions involves a combination of people-oriented and place-oriented strategies that overlaps with the crime prevention through special development or SEPTED. Illustration: an example for situation crime prevention might address problem associated with intoxicated people, that's drunkard, leaving bars at closing time or before, likely to involve in crimes such as fights and drunken impaired driving. Situational solution includes education of bar staff, family members and consumers about responsible drinking, regulation addressing the number, size and location of the bar and the closing time, police presence at closing times and availability of public transport or arrange an alternate mode. Problem with credit card might be another illustration addressed by increased security feature on the card themselves, business practices which requires verification that person presenting the card is the owner, bank procedure to rapidly cancel stolen cards to limit the profit of the thief can make, and police action which targets known credit card thieves. Crime impact overall quality of life. It influences one's action, where one life, how one travels, people one associate with and others. The major conceptual model of crime prevention are the situational, social and developmental crime prevention strategies. However, there has been an increasing acceptance that crime is more complex in nature, so that not only one single strategy is effective in deterring crime. The emergence of hybrid approach towards crime addresses both the situational and social factor and is considered to be more appropriate for the complexity of the crime in 21st century. Hybrid or whole of government approach, an alternative of focusing solely on just one crime prevention approach. A program has combined several strategies and developed a new approach called hybrid program or whole of government approach, as it is known in Australia. Though it is limited to a country, the results were good. An example of this customized approach towards crime prevention is the safety action project implemented in Surfers Paradise and Queensland during the middle of 1990s. As well, other successful program implanted includes project against crime and violence, domestic violence, etc. There are crime prevention programs that are successful. Example: NCAVCA, Say No to Drug, School Chalo, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, etc. Summary of this lesson is: crime originates from society, which is never static. Crime is unique, therefore countermeasure varies every society in different hands. Countermeasures should be designed accordingly. The dynamism of crime prevention needs different models to encounter different crimes. according to the societies. The various models discussed above have unique agenda. The approaches are tested, retested before it is finalized for implementation. Every investment for crime prevention should yield positive result, and it is success is measured in terms of acknowledgement and accreditation for the model. The above discussed models are more prominently used across the world. Thank you.